dollars are being spent. Isn't this the one the president put Joe Biden in charge of? Wasn't he in charge of the division that was supposed to track down how your tax dollars were spent to make sure there was no waste?
I know it was through the stimulus.
I think so, yeah.
He was.
Okay. This is to provide us with accurate information from the GAO. The website, usspending.gov. Now listen to this number. Is now missing at least $619 million. Oh, no, wait. $619 billion.
Wait, they're missing
$619 billion. Could you find the Donald Rumsfeld thing from September 10th, 2001?
Now remember, in putting this in context, Donald Rumsfeld was saying this to draw attention to it. They had just gone into office. He was calling everyone else out.
And he was saying, he's saying he just got into office, and he was like, look, we've got a problem here. They can't account. Now listen to this.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
$2.3 trillion. Now, since this website has been put in, they have lost track of $619 billion from 302 federal programs.
And it was a website that was put into place
under this administration
for transparency.
Right.
Yeah. Someone could tell you how your tax dollars are being spent.
And this is why it's so frustrating. You lose $619 billion. How dare you come to us for $3.7 billion for the border? How dare you ask us for that? How dare you be Nancy Pelosi and say the cupboard is bare, there is nothing more to cut?
How dare you come to us and say you have to have a new executive order that is calling on Americans to do the patriotic thing on taxes. You hear Elizabeth Warren, the new patriotic tax? White House Office of the National Drug Policy told auditors they believed that it was the Department of Health and Human Services that was was responsible for reporting the information. The audit says between 2% and 7% of the information is fully consistent with. The audit says that only between 2% and 7% of the information is fully consistent with their records.
Jeez.
The HHS was the culprit. The department did not report $544 billion in spending. The HHS has lost $544 billion. Now, mass incompetence, or what would you do with $544 billion? What damage could be done? When you have $2.3 trillion that went missing in the Pentagon, what could you build with $2.3 trillion? What could you build? How much did the space program cost us?
Pretty sure less than $2.3 trillion.
So what could you build? You could build an entire shadow government in the Pentagon for $2.3 trillion. And that's Donald Rumsfeld. Now this administration says we've lost at least $619 billion in the last 5 years. Just lost it. I'm sorry, you didn't lose it. You didn't lose that. You couldn't lose money that fast. You couldn't. That is being funneled somewhere. The question should be on this is not who lost the money.
Where is it?
Where is it? Who funneled money?
You know they know where it is.
You know they know it.
They have to.
Yeah,
I mean, just too much
if
money.
you are somebody who is, I say this, let's say this with both sides. You're somebody who says, do you know what we could build? Do you know we'll never lose power ever again? We'll never lose control. If I just had $10 million, you know what I could do to make sure that we never lost control? What could you do with $500 billion? What kind of programs could you put in? What kind of acorn, can you imagine? Take $20 million. Take $1 billion. $1 billion. Can you imagine what you could fund with an acorn for $1 billion?
I mean, it's literally unlimited spending for a group.
Unlimited spending.
They did a lot of damage with a lot less than that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about half of the cost of Obamacare. Half of the cost, the initial reported cost of Obamacare, right. Or half of the stimulus, more than half of the stimulus is just gone.
Just amazing. It's a lot.
So how much was the stimulus? 770,000?
77 initially, but it went up to 8 something by the end of
Yeah.
it.
So this is 619. So that number that we all sweated and toiled and said, oh my gosh, how can you possibly spend all that money? How could you possibly? 619. 770 billion was the original number. 800 billion, let's call it. $800 billion. That was the number that we all said could destroy us, that could change everything. They've lost $619 billion.
Of course, let's keep in
It's
mind
obscene. They should go to jail.
they did spend $600 million on one website. So let's remember that. I mean,
But did they? But did
Yeah,
they
did
really?
they? Yeah.
Did they really? Because look at that website. Where did that money really go? Because it wasn't in building that website.
No.
Where did that money really go? That
we've talked about this a million
that
times.
company was funneling that someplace. Now, I'm not saying that they were laundering money for the people in the government, but that company took our dollars, and what did they actually build with all of that money? Because they didn't build that website for that amount of money. So what did they do with it? And I'm not saying it's connected to the government or anything nefarious, but they spent that money on something. And so who are we giving this money to that we don't want records of? And who is in charge of the check writing? Do we not have at least 2 signators on the checks that we're handing out? Who are we sending money? How do you lose? See, it's not like you have a big pile of cash. There are checks that have to be written. How do you lose $619 billion? Why is Congress not all over this? Why are they not standing up right now? Why isn't everybody on the front page of every newspaper that nobody reads, and on the lead story of every news channel that nobody's watching? Why are they not saying 609? Not fails to report. This is the way we're reporting this. Fails to report. Fails to report.
The site is the way the story's written is usaspending.gov is missing $619 billion. So they may say, well, we know where it is. We just didn't report it to the site like we were supposed to. So, I mean, I'm sure that's what they're going to say. The question,
though,
though,
an
is
outside audit all the time.
all the time.
All the time.
That's what this
Outside
was
audit.
supposed to be.
This is nobody. There
our
is
opportunity to audit them.
Right. This is the GAO. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be nonpartisan and outside independent auditing firm. That is not true. That never happens.
Especially with the most transparent administration in the history of the world, you would think there'd be some transparency here. You'd think there'd be some outside accountability.
The Interior, listen to this. The Interior Department failed to report $5.3 billion in spending. Can I ask you a question? What the hell is the Interior Department spending $5.3 billion on in the first place? Called for the Office of White House Management budget to show more oversight of the website. Until these weaknesses are addressed, any effort to use the data will be hampered about uncertainties about accuracy. No, I don't think so. I don't think you're ever going to be able to fix. You can't make the government. When there's no, see, they make people have outside audits. I mean, if you are any kind of business and you have any kind of feeling that something is wrong, you get an independent counsel. You appoint outside auditors to come in. But if nobody is afraid of, I mean, if the government is paying you with one hand and saying, I want you to chastise us and tell us the truth here, and you come back to us, your employer. How many people have ever had consultants come in that just ask enough questions to know exactly what the management wants to hear, and then they'll point out a few of the problems and nibble around the edges, but they'll never really tell the management the truth because the management is paying them. We're the management. We're the management. There should be an outside audit and real, true transparency.
That's just not true anymore, though, is it?
No, it's not.
We're not the management
Not.
anymore. We haven't been for a long time.
No.
And it's not just this administration,
No,
but we
it's
haven't
been
been
long
the
time.
management of the government for a long time.
Because we trusted.
Yeah, we abdicated our responsibility, and we did. We trusted, and
And
we got
it's
burned
been happening for a
it
long time.
badly.
And, you know, it's amazing. I keep going back to Eisenhower. I think Eisenhower was... I've got to go... We have to listen to that whole Eisenhower speech. I think it was like 25 minutes.
the military industrial complex one.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting about that is when he did it, in the first draft, he was going to take on the media as well. But
the media industrial complex?
Yeah, no, he said the media, the universities, and the military industrial complex.
Got that right.
He said, yeah, he did. He said the media, he said the military, because we're going to start doing full time now, we're going to have to start doing research. And because the government will have all of this money, they are going to be going to the universities and saying, we need your help on developing these things. We need your help on studies and research. And so we'll give you all this money. And he said, because of that, the university systems are going to be corrupted. Unless we stand tall, they'll be corrupted because they'll get so much money from the federal government, they will play ball with the federal government. Because too many people will say, well, don't kick up any dirt. Don't kick up any dirt. Just give them what they want, because otherwise we'll lose this program. We'll lose this money. We'll lose this funding. We'll lose these buildings. And that's exactly what's happening. And he said, and on top of it, now this is the first draft, on top of it, the military, the media will go dark because the universities will be pumping out journalists. The media will have a reason to, because all of the money in play, the media will have all of the universities, all of the people connected to the universities, and all of the people in the government and the Pentagon also pressuring them, hey, just back off on this. This is really good for the country.
So who advised him not to use that?
It's weird because I don't know yet. We're looking into it, but what's weird is he starts with a thank you to the media for covering the speech. That's kind of taken out, and he starts with, I want to thank the media, all of the media, for covering this speech. So I think he made the deal of nobody's going to cover that. And so he's like making a deal. I want to get this message out.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not going to bite
the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to bite the hand that's feeding me here on this one, because I need the message to get out. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
That guy had it right. That guy had it right.